A lot of talk in the preseason for Golden State about what they're going to do at the forward position, right? And we saw last year that Steve Kerr did not trust Jonathan Kuminga, but he did trust Moses Moody, especially towards the latter portion of that Lakers series. He was playing solid point of attack defense, although he's committing a few too many fouls, and he shot the ball well. And that kind of ended up being the reason why he got that spot. Now, we know they brought in Dario Saric, who's going to be a guy who helps with forward depth, but that's going to be matchup dependent. There are going to be teams out there where you can't afford to have a guy like Dario Saric on the floor with some of his limitations defensively, right? And so what they're hoping for is for one of these forwards to pop. And obviously Moses Moody is like your higher floor, lower ceiling option, right? He's a guy that is a better standstill knockdown three-point shooter than Jonathan Kuminga, but not as good at putting the ball on the floor as Jonathan Kuminga, right? Not as athletic as Jonathan Kuminga. He's a good physical point of attack defender, but he's not as good as Jonathan Kuminga can be when he's at his peak at the perimeter. Jonathan Kuminga's got a little bit of that Andrew Wiggins potential as an athletic perimeter defender, right? But in terms of decision-making and just what he does well that fits alongside the core Warriors players, Moody's been in a better position over the course of the last couple of years. But Jonathan Kuminga is hooping his ass off in preseason. He's averaging 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists so far, 55% from the field, 47% from 3 on 6 attempts per game, and 76% from the line. He's converting spot-up possessions at 1.2 points per possession, and his half-court creation metrics have been outstanding. 9 points on 8 pick and rolls. That's over a point per possession. 13 points on 9 ISOs. That's way over a point per possession. And 8 points on 6 post-ups. That totals at 30 points on 23 possessions against set half-court defenses where he's initiating the action, and he's at 1.3 points per possession. That's outstanding. He's made 10 of his 19 jump shots. He's taken 4 pull-up jump shots, and he's made 3 of them. So it's hard to be any better than what Jonathan Kuminga has been so far in preseason. So the next question is, what is replicable from that with the core lineups, right? Because obviously preseason has more of a free-flowing type of feel compared to what you're going to be asking this guy to do in Game 3 against the Lakers in the Western Conference semifinals, right? Like, it's going to be different, right? So I wanted to take a closer look at that. So first of all, the spot-up possessions. Obviously, whether it's him in the corner or him cutting along the baseline, which he does pretty well for the most part, he needs to be able to make defenses pay for not guarding him. 1.2 points per spot-up possession so far. That's encouraging. If he can keep that up, that's a big step in that direction. Transition possessions. The Golden State Warriors are constantly hunting transition possessions, which is something they need to do because last year they struggled with half-court offense against the best defenses, right? So, again, the best half-court offenses are never going to be as efficient as an average transition offense. So having guys that can get up and down and run the floor and score is a huge value. Second half of the Kings game the other night. He blew by Kevin Huerter in semi-transition. He's coming up the left wing. Huerter's backpedaling. Huerter's just a smaller, less athletic player. And Kuminga just hits him with a hard right-handed dribble, just blows right by him, lays it up on the right side of the rim, right? Like, that's something that he can continue to do even with the core guys. He's had a couple of baskets trailing the play, right? Like we saw the Gary Payton drop-off pass where Kuminga was like floating head above the rim as he laid it in, and then he had that lob dunk in the Lakers game. These are easy buckets that he can get in the flow of the offense without having to command half-court possessions or take the ball away from Steph Curry or do something that he's not going to be able to do in some sort of key postseason environment. That is a legitimate weapon to have, an athlete that can run the floor in transition and score. The matchup attacking, I think, has been really interesting. And again, are they going to run a bunch of Kuminga ISOs or post-ups at the end of a close playoff game? Probably not. But it is a useful weapon over the course of the 82, and if he demonstrates it over the 82, you might see it in bench runs during the playoffs, like late first quarter, early second quarter, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, where you might see Jonathan Kuminga get some opportunities to score. He's just too damn big, strong, and athletic for most of these NBA defenders. And they've done some stuff to make it easy on him, right? Like I've seen, especially against the Kings, they had a couple plays where they cleared the side for him. There was that play where he cleared the side against De'Aaron Fox. It was in the first half. And like he patiently waited for the guys to go get spaced out. And then he literally didn't do anything fancy. He just looked De'Aaron Fox in the face, ripped through to the middle, shouldered him with that left arm, bumped him off, and made an easy floater in the lane. That's easy basketball. De'Aaron Fox is a good defensive player, but that's just a bigger, stronger athlete. There's nothing he can do about that. Then in the second half, same thing. They clear the right side this time. and he's going against Sasha Vezenkov. Same thing, just hard dribble towards the left. Vezenkov cuts him off because he anticipated the move, but there's just no way in hell he's going to be able to hang with him on the counter move. Hard dribble, spin, all the way to the basket. Easy layup at the rim. A layup he's going to literally make 100% of the time. That's the type of physical advantage he brings to the table. Second half against Alex Len, he gets him on a switch. They're spaced out in 5-out spacing. He doesn't even have a cleared side, but he just beats Alex Len with a really quick dribble to the left hand in a layup. And then I know you guys all remember the first Lakers game, the very first preseason game when he hit that spin move against Taurean Prince in the lane for the and one. He just has such a physical advantage that there's points there. And the Warriors, again, they're putting him in positions where he has significant physical advantages and where he's got good spacing, meaning they are either clearing the side or making his reads easy. Why is clearing the side important? Because then you don't have to worry about help from one side of the court. You can just face the other side. A lot of young players and guys that, aren't accustomed to being floor generals are not as good at kind of digesting everything that's happening on the court. So clear a side for him. You take away half of his decision-making process and you make things easier for him. And then lastly, he's using his gifts. He's not taking dumb fadeaways. He's not settling. He is being physically aggressive towards the basket and elevating over the top of guys for easy shots. Now, the question is, what will be the keys for him to crack the playoff rotation, to get more minutes than guys like Dario Saric or Moses Moody? Because here's the thing. Like, Moses Moody, to me, is that higher floor, lower ceiling option, right? Like, he's going to be more consistent in all likelihood. Dario Saric, I would argue, even higher floor, right? Because he's just a veteran who's been in he's just played a lot more basketball, right? So, obviously, the floor is higher for those guys. But unquestionably, the ceiling is higher for Kuminga. There's a universe where if he gets 18 minutes a game in the playoffs, that he could have a 20-point game or two. That's the type of ceiling that he has that a guy like Moses Moody doesn't have. But in order to crack the rotation, he's got to be sharp in some specific areas. He has to defend on the perimeter at the same level that Andrew Wiggins does, which is something he's more than capable of. He has to shoot the ball close to as well as he has in the preseason. That's something he's capable of. But most importantly, he has to consistently make good decisions. That's the big pet peeve for the Warriors. Ball stopping, missing that extra pass to one of their shooters, lack of attention to detail and transition defense, help defense, things along those lines. Those are those areas where Kuminga has to be sharp throughout the season in order to earn that spot in the playoff rotation. Now, no matter what, I think it's plainly visible to all of us that this kid's going to be a star. It's just a matter of when. The tools are too insane. The leaps that he's making on a season-by-season basis with his specific skill set you can't deny it at this point. It might take another 4 or 5 years, but I think Jonathan Kuminga has all-star in his future.